2025-26 school year of Scottsdale Parent Council. We'll stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is behind me over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And next we have our land acknowledgement. As we gather for this meeting, let us take a moment to reflect on the meaning of place, and in doing so, recognize the various traditional lands on which we do our business today. We wish to acknowledge this land on which this SBC meeting is taking place. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Hohokam, the Acamel Odam, and most recently, the Salt River Pima Indian community. Today, this meeting place is still home to many indigenous people from across Maricopa, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on this land. Okay, today's meeting will begin as we usually do with a question and answer with Dr. Menzel. And then we're going to hear from Team Awesome, which is also known as SUSD Nutrition Services. And then I have a few things to talk about SPC in general, including if you're on a PTO, an upcoming date that you're really going to want to hear about regarding the booster guidelines. And then we'll end with some executive board updates. Okay, so first we'll do question and answers with Dr. Menzel.
Good afternoon.
It's evening.
Is it evening already?
6. Okay. I hear that PTOs and parents can no longer have keys. Can you explain, and is this true?
So we have a little bit of an issue where there are a whole lot of people who have keys to a whole lot of things, and that creates a liability risk for us. So in order to get control of our locks without having to rekey the entire district, which would cost a whole lot of money, we are collecting keys back so that we can manage the process. Now, if it's an employee of the district, they can be issued a key. If it's a substitute teacher, they pick one up coming in and they turn it back in when they're done. So there are ways to make sure that people have access when they need it appropriately, but to have keys floating around without any control over access is a security and liability risk for the district. So yes, we are taking a hardline stance now, and then we'll look at what the unintended consequences might be and how we can make modifications going forward. But right now, it's a pretty big security risk. Yes.
For PTOs specifically that have rooms or trailers where there's just a lockbox with a key, where there isn't a lot of keys floating around, there's just a lockbox with a key, is that something that could be utilized?
For that facility, I want to make sure I understand the question. So where is the lockbox?
So a lot of PTOs have either a designated trailer for storage and meetings or a designated room on
Right.
the facility campus. And so they don't actually have a key that they own. They have a key that they have access to as needed, and it's usually just like a lockbox that's on the trailer that can be accessed through a code. And so there, in those cases, and I think a lot of PTOs have those, then there isn't a lot of people with keys. There's just one key that never leaves campus, that is, never leaves, really the lockbox just to open it and then it goes back in the lockbox. Is that a kind of a way?
So I think the plan is to really move through the front offices to manage that, so we know who's accessing when, so that we can make sure that you don't have some unanticipated utilization of the lockbox. Doesn't mean that can't be reviewed in the future, but I think for now, it really is trying to get all the key sign-outs through the front office. Someone can walk with you, or they can, if you're a PTO there and they know it, as long as the keys turn back in. There are some ways. How are you doing that, Josh? I don't want to misspeak.
So all keys will be turned in, period, end of story. And then if you come on campus and you need access to a door, your room, whatever, then somebody, whether it's facilities or somebody from the front office or security, will unlock it for you and then lock it back up. We've been over here with the pendulum where everybody has keys or access to keys. We are now going all the way over here, and then we will land somewhere in the middle. But for now, all keys are coming back, and nobody will have access to them. You will have to get a staff member to let you in and then let you out.
We can only access the PTO trailer, PTO room by going in through the front office, scanning our driver's license, not to mention the PTO on our campus, we enforce that they are all fingerprint clearance checked as well. So that's just something to keep in mind because it is a huge inconvenience to the front office staff who are already short-staffed, as we only have one facilities person on our campus.
Yes, yes. Correct, and we know it's a burden on our staff. We know it's an inconvenience for you guys. But when at our last audit, we had more than 100 keys that are out there that we can't account for. I just had 3 keys mailed to me in the snail mail from people that used to be PTO members or whatever that took keys home accidentally. So we're going, yes, we realize it's a burden not only on you guys, but on us as well. But we are going to the far end, and then we will meet in the middle. We need to get control of the situation.
So we'll account for the keys, understand the challenge, and the other thing is we can document it, right? So when you're signing, and let us know the frequency. That way we can make the determination as quickly as possible, but we still have to get control of the situation first.
Okay. In the event of school closure or repurposing, what would happen to that school's tax credit money? And the same question for any funds that a school's PTO would have. What happens to it and who gets it?
That's a very good question. I need to talk with Shannon Crozier about that to see if there is any specific regulation with respect to how that can be utilized. So I don't want to speculate without knowing. We would find that information out before we did a repurposing of a school.
And just so you know, we'll be publicizing this soon, but the topic of the meeting that will happen in December, which got moved to December 10th, is school repurposing. So that will be an entire general meeting topic that we'll be getting the word out about soon. Okay. Are PTOs and or booster organizations now being charged for reserving spaces on their school campus? For example, a parent information meeting for a sports team.
I'll have to look into that. I don't know. It could be that, what I expect is happening is that we're following the facility rental guidelines. And so what I don't know is if there were times in the past where you weren't charged and now you are getting charged, and it was always in the facility rental guideline. We do have a new person in that office, and so I need to check and see if it's implementing what's in the facility rental guidelines or if it's something different. So if I know a specific building, that will help with my investigation.
So I'll give you a more specific circumstance. The difference would be there are some booster clubs that have a lot of money. So if your sport is no cut and you're at a certain type of school, you might not have a big bank account. So if all of a sudden there are charges for rooms for like a parent information meeting where it's not fundraising, like it's just getting the word out or celebrating the kids, for example, like an end of season potluck, that is a huge financial burden for such a booster club.
So all I need to know is to get a sense of what you're being charged and why, and then I can look into it with Dennis.
So in the new booster guidelines that I don't know if are official that you are mentioning, I saw something in there, and it does talk about, because we were getting charged for things that supposedly we weren't, and it's all about when it is. If it's like between the hours of operation till 8 p.m., you shouldn't get charged, but if it exceeds a certain time, then yes. So there is very specific wording, I think, in that document now.
And that would make sense to me, because then it's just tied to the staffing that we have to ensure is on campus to close up facilities after.
So I don't know if
it's been used.
FMX is up to date then, because
Okay.
this was coming with FMX, because that's also from the guidelines that we all have to use FMX now. Okay.
That's the facility rental software. It's also the same software we use when someone's putting in a work request for facility repairs.
It's a website that, no offense, hopefully you don't have to use.
But the app is great.
There's an app?
There's an
Okay.
FMX app.
I did not know that.
I don't know if only employees can use it though, so.
Okay. All right. Okay, given the increased focus on immigration enforcement by the federal government, has SUSD noticed any changes in enrollment or signups for support services such as free reduced lunch or internet access?
So I don't have numbers with respect to the potential implications. We know that we've heard some concerns, particularly in South Scottsdale. We provided reassurance to our principals and to our families through our principals with respect to the district's position, what the Supreme Court ruling was in Plyler v. Doe. That is, your immigration status is irrelevant when it comes to attending public education. And we don't allow any law enforcement action on our campus without a judicial warrant. So if an ICE official were to show up and try to do anything on our campus, if they had a judicial warrant, then they would have authorization to enter the campus. But if they just have an administrative warrant of some type, or just knock on the door and say, we want to come in, we won't allow them in. Scottsdale Police Department will support us in that. They have to have proper legal documentation. So students are safe when they're coming to our schools. We cannot provide that same assurance when they're not at school. And we want to work to support our students and families as they navigate the fears that they may have.
Okay. Has SUSD received all expected federal and state funding?
So I would say, I don't know that we've received it all, but what was frozen this summer is no longer frozen. So we have a reasonable expectation that we'll receive that money. And then the question is what happens going forward, because Congress is still talking about what they might cut. We don't know how fast they'll get to a budget resolution. So we're preparing for fewer federal resources in the upcoming years than what we've had in the past.
When would, so like, will that impact this school year? What
So-
Congress does?
It's possible, but unlikely. The real question is how, well, Congress doesn't do anything fast. So we might get drug along for a bit, but we know that that's their intention, is to reduce funding. One of the big question marks we have is with the one big beautiful bill, the reductions in Medicaid, what will be the impact on schools? Because some of our Medicaid reimbursement offsets special education costs, and we don't know what that net dollar amount will be because we're usually 2 years in arrears for the billing. And so that's something that we're going to be monitoring.
How is the enforcement of the new state law banning cell phones in classrooms going?
So I would reframe that and say that the state law requires us to have a cell phone policy. We've had it for K-8s away for the day for 2 years, and I think this is going on 3. And enforcement is generally pretty good, but not universally consistent. So you might find some middle schools where there could be some students who violate it. It's a code of conduct violation, and it should be documented by administration on the site. The high school, our approach has been away in the classroom unless there's a specific educational use that the teacher has permitted, but we have not prohibited them in between classes or during lunch. That was a request of our high school principals more than a year ago. Senator Karen Werner, who was part of getting that bill passed, sought clarification to ensure that the policy and the practice we had in place was compliant with the law, and she confirmed it was, so we didn't make any changes after the law was passed.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. I hope it's been a good start for your students. We have a lot of interesting challenges ahead, but we know that we can do hard things because we've done them before. So thank you for being here. Good luck, Patty.
So, good evening. Excited to be here. This is one of my favorite presentations of any time I get asked, and it's typically at least every other year, if not once a year. So, love meeting with y'all. My name is Patty Bilbray, and I am Director of Nutrition Services. I also brought along with me Brooke Phillips, who is our amazing operations manager for finance in our department, because we are going to talk a little bit about our meal price increase and why that kind of happened. Sorry. I never need a microphone. I'm Italian. So anyway, we are going to get into this very soon, but first I wanted to go over the handouts I handed you. We do have our, this is just for the sake of like your enjoyment. If you're ever bored at night and you want to read the meal patterns, I think it's interesting to show our school breakfast meal pattern. Then we have a 2-paged front and back, what the meal pattern is we need to follow for lunch. I think it's interesting to kind of look at that and see the guidelines we have to follow. They're pretty strict. I usually bring my 5-inch binder that has 1 week's worth of recipe documentation that I need for an audit. And for 1 week, it takes a whole 5-inch binder. But I didn't bring that today. It's too heavy to carry. But it talks about the components that we have to serve. It also talks about our calorie minimum and maximums and all of our macro micronutrients we have to have. So I think that's kind of interesting. I also provided you a handout. I've got a laminated copy, but it's the new changes that are coming forward in the meal patterns. We have something that will be coming forward on added sugars, which we've never had a sugar restriction ever. So it's kind of nice to see that. You're going to see right now some specific items this year, such as breakfast cereals, yogurt, and flavored milk that can't exceed a certain amount of sugar. We are already at that, we've met that guideline, so we're good. But the years following, we're gonna go to 10% of calorie from added sugars only, so that's pretty good. It's kind of nice to see that. I have nothing against the sugar restrictions. Milk, it just talks about the sugar there, and what's allowable. Sodium. Sodium's a tough one, guys. So there are some real significant restrictions coming on sodium over time, and this is for a complete and entire meal. When you consider that 2 slices of whole grain bread are 380 milligrams of sodium, you have an 8-ounce carton of low-fat milk, that's 105 milligrams of sodium. You add that up, you can hardly even do anything in a meal. So we're really struggling with the sodium, and what happens when you take out sugar? You take out salt and you take out fat. You've got to put in sugar. Well, there's going to be sugar restrictions. So then it starts going into additives, which we don't want to see in our food. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but we're getting there. And then whole grains. The new regulations, it used to be 100% of your grains had to be whole grain. We are moving to 80% of the grains have to be whole grain. There are 2 items in our menus that are not whole grain. And that is, we use white rice instead of brown. And the reason is brown rice is very difficult to make in large batches. You get funny little crispy parts and cooked parts. So it doesn't work out really well for us. And then our macaroni and cheese, because it turns gray. And that's not very appealing. So macaroni and cheese is not going to, it's going to be low fat and reduced sodium, but it's not going to be whole grain. You have some other handouts that we'll get to during the presentation. And so that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start with who we are. Nutrition Services, we're known as Team Awesome because we are awesome and we do great things. I couldn't be more proud of the team that both Brooke and I are blessed to work beside. We serve nutritious meals across SUSD elementary, middle, and high schools and across the valley. Does anybody know why we go across the valley? We provide meals to private parochial charter Head Starts, Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCAs from El Mirage to Fountain Hills to Apache Junction, and we used to go to Sacaton. So we have our Oak catering facility does thousands of meals a day out of there. So it's pretty interesting. It's a way to earn some additional revenues that roll back into our nutrition services department to provide great things for our kids. We are also a self-funded program. So we are not part of the district's M&O budget. We operate off of our revenues only. So we don't impact negatively the district's M&O budget. In fact, we positively impact it. Not M&O, but we provide $1.2 million, typically maybe about $1 million right now because the indirect rate went down by the state, to the indirect cost fund. So all of our federal reimbursements off of the top of what we earn, 18% of that goes directly to the district before we even start paying our bills. We are supported by federal reimbursement and meals and cash meal sales. Our daily reach is we serve breakfast, lunch, supper. We do have supper, summer meals, and we serve about 1.4 million meals a year. And we also cater to medically fragile students. Like we have students that are diabetics, we have students that have PKU, we have students that all have all kinds of different metabolic issues that we deal with, and we have a whole team that deals with just that. Our mission and vision is to fuel academic success through wholesome and appealing meals. We will always meet or exceed USDA, ADE, and state nutrition standards. We create a positive dining experience that encourages lifelong healthy habits. And through this presentation, I'm gonna show a few photos here and there just so you see what school lunch is all about. This is actually my lunch. So over here, it's one day I decided it was our tangerine chicken. By the way, it's the same one that Trader Joe's sells. Exact same manufacturer, yep. So there's that, and then this was our Big Daddy's reduced fat, whole grain, reduced sodium pizza, but we made a cheeseburger pizza out of it. But look at, I want you to see what's with it. Sure, there's pizza, but we had on our fresh fruit and veggie bar, we had spinach salad that day. We had blood oranges, fresh pears. This is the kind of stuff you'll see as the side. So you might see your typical pizza once in a while, a burrito, orange chicken, but you're gonna see a whole array of really healthy items. Here's a few of our other items. Again, cherry blossom chicken. It does get served in the middle school, high school in the little pail, which I think is really cute. This would be our red pepper hummus pack. This would be our crispy chicken salad. And yes, we do serve edamame. So that's on our fresh fruit and veggie bars from time to time. I'm just gonna do a quick overview of our programs and nutrition initiatives. Like I said, we do breakfast and lunch. We have our fresh fruit and veggie bars. That was new last year. This is in our elementaries, and we're implementing this year in our middle school and high schools. They'll be coming. Instead of everything being pre-packaged on the line, it's now loose. Like it's in the shotgun pans that kids can use the tongs and the spoodles to be able to serve their own fruits and veggies, and you'll see some pictures. Summer meals, we serve at 26 sites, and we will talk about that coming up. Fresh fruit and vegetable program. So we have that, we've been approved for that at Hohokam and Yavapai this year. We haven't done it in 20 years. We never had a frame reduced percentage that allowed it, but because we're CEP at those schools, which I'll talk about later, we have it. We have Smart Snacks, our nutrition initiative, and did anybody hear about HB 2164? It's the Arizona Healthy Schools Act. We're gonna talk about that. We have the District Wellness Committee, which you're all invited to attend, and we also work with the Blue Zones. Smart snacks in schools. This is one of the ones I really want to talk with PTOs about. I'm not going to do a training here, but there's a guidance called Smart Snacks in Schools. It requires that any school from midnight to 1/2 hour after the last bell have all of their foods meet the guidelines in this. It's pretty complex, and it's about an hour-long training to even understand. So I'm gonna make it really easy. If you're going to do any fundraisers during the school day that include food, or if you're going to do any type of event that has food, like a field day, it needs to go through the Nutrition Services Department for approval. All of our a la carte items that we sell in the cafeteria do meet these standards. And like I said, they have very, very specific standards. So how many of you have heard about the SUSD Nutrition Initiative? When it was launched, it was the Pueblo Nutrition Initiative. In 2017, we had some parents from Pueblo come and meet with us and say they didn't really love what they were seeing in the school meals. So we really worked for about 1.5 years together and came up with what we were going to call the Nutrition Initiative. We eliminated all MSG at that time. There's no high fructose corn syrup. We don't use artificial food dyes. We have no BHT and BHQ except pepperoni because you can't find it without it. No TBHQ, nearly nitrate and nitrite free. There's a few items that have it, but I feel like that's going away. Manufacturers are starting to pull that, and eventually we'll get there. And our a la carte snacks, we don't exceed 13 grams of added sugar. Most of our items run between 5 and 9, just so you know. And then HB 2164, which is now the Arizona Healthy Schools Act. It's this handout here. It's kind of a really dark kind of dark gray one. This is a copycat bill. Well, I hate to say that. I shouldn't say it that way. This is a bill that mirrors the bill out of California, and it bans ultra-processed foods. Now, we're still working on what does ultra-processed really mean in schools and anywhere. And what it's saying is right now that we cannot have the items that are on this list. Some of them I can't even pronounce, but I can tell you that what was great about this. Because we had the Nutrition Initiative in 2017, there were 2 items on our menu we needed to remove, just 2. And those were items that contained titanium dioxide. That was mashed potatoes. Why am I gonna blank on the other one? Mashed potatoes, oh, and the little drizzle of icing that went on our whole grain cinnamon rolls, because that had titanium dioxide to make it white. And those were the only 2 items we had to remove. We haven't found mashed potatoes yet, and we're having a little bit of a panic attack because what's coming up, Thanksgiving, and we have to start procuring that right now. But right now, we can't find a mashed potato that doesn't have titanium dioxide. Unless you, and everybody said, well, you could peel and mash your own. I'm like, that's when I retire. I'm out if that happens. I will tell you that this is supposed to be implemented July 1st of 2026. We are already compliant. And we already, like I said, we have those 2 items. We are compliant as we speak right now, which I think is really good. And honestly, most schools in Arizona are. There will be that the districts do need to sign on to say that they are compliant. Even though it's a law and we must be, they're still going to require a signature from, we believe, the superintendent. And like I said, we are already compliant. Because of laws like this, look at the date on this. I just got this today. PepsiCo is taking all artificial food dyes out of their K-12 portfolio. They're also removing MSG from many items come December. It's exciting, right? But there's something that bothers me about this. We're going to remove synthetic colors from our K-12 food portfolio. Why aren't they just removing it everywhere? Why schools? You know, we get beat up saying we're poisoning kids. Why is this not being changed in what we shop for in the grocery stores? If it can be done for schools, shouldn't it just be done? So we'll talk a little bit about advocacy later, like what parents can do. I feel like it's hard for us to model good behavior here, but then they can't even find this food out in the real world. So that kind of bothers me a little bit. Props to Pepsi for doing this now, but I'd like to see it changed more globally. Blue zones. How many of you are familiar with blue zones? How many of you are at schools that are working to be blue zone certified or are blue zone certified? I'm going to tell you that took off like crazy last year. So we do participate in the Blue Zones Schools Committee. I was supposed to be at one today, but I'm here instead. We do support the site-based Blue Zones approval. We work closely with Blue Zones to develop entrees that meet the Blue Zones criteria. I have to tell you that's a little bit difficult because the USDA guidelines on that meal pattern conflict with Blue Zones. It requires specific amounts of protein, and because we have so few dollars to spend, Blue Zones wants that protein to be like fish, tofu. They don't want cow's milk cheese. They want it to be like goat's milk or something. Well, we can't even find that from our distributors or in the volumes we need them or for the price we need them. So we're working on that with our Blue Zones Scottsdale, and they are also reaching out to other districts who have done this to see what did they come up with. We engage local and national Blue Zones speakers like that right there. That's Dan Buettner. So he actually came and spoke to our 140 nutrition services staff. I think that is super cool. Like Blue Zones themselves came out and met with our cafeteria teams. And I mean, that's commitment, guys. Pork carnitas, this was Monday. We did pork carnitas tacos. That was a new item. That was this Monday. This was from Pueblo Elementary. This was her fresh fruit and veggie bar. She made cilantro lime coleslaw. She made homemade pico de gallo. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? So I think that's fun that we're doing some different types of items and really introducing kids to global flavors. All right, kind of what we want to talk about, the price increase, right? So we had to pass a price increase this year. We have held off for 8 years. The reason we held off is we were about 3 years in since our last price increase when a little thing called COVID-19 hit, and it changed the world. First off, what happened? Every single student in America moved to free. So we didn't have to do a price increase. They stayed free, and then when they dropped the free for all, they added an additional 40 cents to breakfast and lunch reimbursements. So that was enough for us to get by. We also received about $1 million total, would you say, for our department? Am I right, Brooke? In supply chain assistance funds. So when you look at that, we had money to kind of float us. We also, because everybody was free, what happened? Everybody ate with us. So our participation went through the roof. We typically would earn, I'm trying to think, $250,000 in like our bottom line profit a year, and we were earning over $1 million each year in bottom line profit. So we were able to use that to hold off a price increase as long as we could, especially to watch what was going to happen with our economy, because it was doing this. You know, it was all over the place. We didn't know where we were going to land. We didn't know what reimbursements were going to look like. Food cost was all over the place. Labor, oh my gosh. We didn't know what was going to happen, so we held off till we had a better feel for what we saw the trajectory happening for a couple years. We had a significant increase in food costs and labor costs. We're also required to align with the paid lunch equity, which we call the PLE tool. What that means is that free students cannot support a lower lower price for paid students, and that was what was happening. Because we get more for a free student than we do for our paid, and I'll explain that. We also wanted to maintain quality. Quality, we never want to go backwards on quality, we always want to go forward. And then also we needed this additional revenue to support increased operations and improvements. I'm going to tell you one of the things. A compressor for a walk-in cooler used to be $2,000. As of last year, it's $7,500 for one. I can tell you it's a lot more now. An oven was $12,000. They're $35,000 now. You know, these are just what we're looking at. Our increased costs, you all know that from at home, right? What used to cost, well, I call $100 the new $20. Remember you go to Costco and you felt good? Because you're like, I got away under $100. I feel good if I get away under $300 now. And it's just too much. I mean, so we've had to increase our prices. So we are across the board, $2.50 for breakfast in our elementary, middle, and high. We are $3.50 for our adult breakfast. And the reason why adults cost more is we do not receive reimbursement. So there is a specific formula we must use to do our adult meal pricing. Our lunch, we went from $2.85 in elementary to $3.95. And then in middle and high, we did a tiered pricing. We went from $3.10, and we went to $3.95, $4.50, and $4.95. I can tell you the overwhelming majority of those meals fall here. Very few fall in the $4.95. So, in the state of Arizona, they have polled schools. The allocated cost to produce a meal right now is about $5.08 across the board. That's fully allocated. That's not just the food. Remember, we have to pay for our own salary. We have to pay for all of our, benefits for our employees. We have to pay all of our costs. Everything comes out of that meal price that we charge. And then when I talked about the paid lunch equity, if you look here, it's hard for me to point to it, sorry, and you're looking at that elementary free, reduced, and paid here. I'm going to go with the elementary first. This was last year's data. Our federal reimbursement we got for free was $4.43. You can see that. We also got 9 cents for menu certification for a total revenue for a free student, $4.52. That's gone up slightly this year. But look at, when I look down to where it's red, the elementary paid, we received 42 cents in reimbursement. Not $4.43, 42 cents. We got 9 cents for the certification. Cash at register, we got $2.85, so total revenue was $3.36. So if you look at that, we have a gap of $1.16 that we had to make up. I do want you to look at that middle line for reduced, where it says 403. There is a column there that says state reimbursement. The state of Arizona right now actually picks up the copay for reduced students. They typically have to pay 30 cents at breakfast and 40 cents at lunch. Arizona is actually paying that in their state budget, which I think is really nice. So our free and reduced students actually eat at no cost. Right now, about 74% of our students are in the paid category, and about 26% are in the free. So you can see how having that gap was really difficult for us. We also talked about the pandemic era surplus funds were used to offset. And then also I want to talk about operating expenses. So we need to have 3-month operating expense of the bank because we buy our food before we sell it. We pay insurance one time. That's August or September? Yeah, and that's, how much is that at one time? A one-time shot. So that's before we've really gotten the school year going, so we've got to have cash in hand. It's sort of like we've got to be able to cash flow. So we typically we used to have about $1.2 million in the bank. Now we have to have 3.5, and I would say this year it's more than that. We probably have to be well in excess of 4 million. So that's pretty rough to have that when you're only making literally 10 cents on a meal. This is just an illustration of our food expense. And you can see it came down in COVID. And that's only because for a while, schools were shut down. Even though we did curbside meal service, it wasn't a ton in Scottsdale. So we dipped down for a little bit. Then we went all the way back up because then what happened? Everybody was eating. But then it went down because we started to get some revenues for our supply chain assistance funds. So you can see it going up. It's shooting right back up again this year, though. So here is our supplies. Oh, supplies have gone through the roof. Look at that, you guys. I mean, we dipped down because we didn't have to have as much during COVID, but it's gone through the roof. Paper and plastic. A paper boat, you know, those red and white checker boats, used to be 3 cents, they're 9 cents now. You think, well, that's only 6 cents different, but when you're doing thousands and thousands of those, it all adds up. Labor. Labor has risen 106%. Because during COVID, when you couldn't hire anybody, and Jack in the Box was hiring for $18 an hour, we had to go from, at that point, $12 to about $18 or more an hour. And we had already just gone up because Arizona had increased their minimum wage from $8 to that $12. So we've seen a very sharp increase in labor costs, plus the cost of benefits is in labor. And that's gone up tremendously. And then for our indirect costs, you can see what we would pay to the district. That was that percentage of federal dollars. It did go down in COVID, just because when we shut down schools, I was like, we're gonna go bankrupt. So they kind of, they brought it down for us. We went back up, and then we came down a little bit just because the state changed from 25% to 18% is the maximum. This is Tonalea. So in our middle schools, everything is like they grab and go. I think that looks really good. This is just any day you go to Tonalea, this is what you're gonna see. And by the way, the manager there just got promoted to one of my operations managers, so I'm super excited. I think that looks beautiful for a grab and go for students. Lots of fresh veggies, lots of really good stuff in there. Nice homemade salads, sandwiches, That's the cold bar. Okay. This is something I'm super passionate about, you guys. The face of hunger. Can you look around this room and tell if anybody's going to be hungry or not? You can't. You have no idea what happens behind closed doors. There is no face to hunger. It exists in every single school in SUSD. Every single school, and I hear the stories and I can attest to that. Whether you think it or not, like somebody can be driving a nice car, living in a really nice house, but their life's falling apart. They've lost their business. Somebody, has an illness. You don't know what's going on, so don't judge a book by its cover. 1 in 5 children struggle with food security in Arizona. So in that picture, there's about 3 kids. So when you look at that, there's going to be 3 kids. These are not our students. This is a stock photo. But if you look at that to say, if it's 1 in 5, think about there would be 3 kids in there that don't know where their next meal is coming from. It's scary. Our mission is to make sure every kid's fed. You can't learn if you're hungry. I can't even pay attention in a meeting if I'm like, oh, lunch is coming. What am I going to have? Or, those are the things. If your stomach's growling, I'm not paying attention. But I might be going, yes, yes, but I'm not really paying attention. So there were some questions that came from, I believe, this group, right, Kim? So it said, what percentage of families file for the free and reduced lunch application in elementary school versus middle versus high? And I do have a graph that'll show you that. And if there's a fall off in the high school or middle school, what drives that trend and what are we doing as a district to make sure our students are nourished throughout the day? We will talk about that. But I do want to talk about the second part. We allow charging. If you don't have cash on hand and you're not free or reduced, we do allow charging up to 5 days of meals in elementary and middle and 3 days in high school. I know this is taped and I know it's going to go everywhere. We will never remove a tray from a kid, ever. We have students that carry a balance that's quite high. We try and work with the community specialists to say, do they need some assistance? Do they need help filling out a free and reduced form? There's lots of reasons for why somebody hasn't been paying, but I just want you to know that no kid's gonna go hungry if they come up and want a meal. No kid. I don't care who they are, we will make sure that they are fed. Okay? So we have our policy, but we also have our empathetic internal policy, which is we will feed kids. Is there a way for older high school students to self-advocate? If so, with whom and how? And I'm assuming, and I want to make sure, to advocate if they need help with free or reduced meals. Is that correct?
I think the question is yes, if they're hungry and they maybe have not been caught in the free, like they should be free and reduced lunch, but their parents didn't fill it out. Right. How do they advocate for themselves and with who?
So a student can fill out their own free and reduced application. However, they must fill it out completely. They can't, if they are in a household of, let's say, 5 people, they cannot just say, it's just me and I don't make money. They need to fill it out just like if they were the parent filling it out, but they can fill out their own application. They also would probably, first step is to see their community specialist or their counselor. Then they typically reach out to us. We get emails and phone calls all the time from the community specialist, but that's somebody right on campus that can help them. And then we typically help that person help the student because we're not right there in front of the student.
And if there isn't a community specialist at the school, the counselor?
The counselor or any administrator in the front office would help them. And how are we communicating access to services to students? That's a tough one. We put things in the source. There might be things going out in Parent Square. There's going to be things on our website. It's just not super accessible to students. And I think that's an area we could probably, I like that question because I'm like, maybe we could work on that a little bit more on how do we get that to the actual students, not the parents, the students. And that's where I think we're probably not doing as good as we should. So I actually have that written on my whiteboard in the office and we will be discussing that. So free and reduced meals. you have to apply annually. The application is online for anybody who wants to. I would encourage people to apply because you'd be surprised what you maybe can make to get at least reduce. We're going to talk a little bit about direct certification, community eligibility, we will talk about coming up, and then we also have Link Connect, which is where you can fill out the application, but you can also go on and set up your parent accounts. Our elementary enrolled is 8,822 students, 2,287 qualified, or 25.92% qualify for free or reduced in K-8, 30.56 in middle school, and 27.4, oh, I have two commas down there, sorry, 27.4% in our high schools. You can see it's pretty even. It used to drop a lot in high school because we had a hard time getting those paper applications. Remember back in the day of paper? I think because we've moved to online, people are doing them online. High school kids not gonna walk up and hand a paper application to a teacher, say, can you enter offers this to nutrition services? So I think that's been helpful, but I think direct certification has been huge, and we're gonna talk about that here. Direct certification, so this is where we run a match with the state on who has SNAP, TANF, or Medicaid. Medicaid is now a qualifier for free meals in Arizona. That is new as of 2 years ago. That was never the case before. And when that happened, it shot our numbers up dramatically. I'm gonna jump down to the purple screen here. So when we look at our free percentages, there is a percent of our free that comes from direct certification. Prior to Medicaid being added as a qualifier, we were at 11% of our free applications were from direct certification. Once Medicaid became a qualifier, it jumped to 26%. So we went up 15%. 15% more kids in that category. So that was great. And I'm really concerned because with the cuts to Medicaid coming, those students are probably gonna fall off the free program. And what concerns me, most of those kids are our vulnerable, medically fragile children. They probably make a little bit too much to qualify under income applications. But now they're not gonna probably qualify because they've lost the Medicaid. So that is a concern. It's also gonna lower our direct certification percentages, which we will talk about the impact that will have on our CEP schools. And we'll talk about CEP in a minute. I talk in acronyms, don't I? Here's another thing to look at. Income applications. When you apply for free and reduced meals, it calculates based on how many people are in your household and what that annual income is. So this is pathetic. If you are a family of 4, you cannot make more than $41,795 a year, or you don't qualify for free. I don't know who, as a family of 4, can live on $41,795 a year. I just don't know how it's possible anywhere in this country. I'm not just saying Scottsdale. This is a nationwide chart that's used by USDA. This chart has not been, it goes up about 3% every year. It does not take into effect the changes in our inflation. It didn't change also, think about this, when people's wages went up around COVID, it kicked them off programs, but also the cost of everything went up. So even though you might be making now, instead of $8 an hour, you're making 15, well, everything tripled in price. So it's like, I call like $15 the new $8 an hour. It didn't really increase their disposable incomes. It just actually made it where they don't qualify anymore. But if you look at this, this is really, I mean, I would say a family of 2 would have a hard time at $42,000. So that's the income eligibility guideline. It's what we're stuck with, and actual expenses do not come into play. I have lots of people who call and say, but my rent is $2,300. Like, I wish I could take that. It's based solely on income. So verification happens once a year. We randomly, our system pulls 3% of the applications. So it takes those applications, pulls out 3%, and then we have to verify those 3%. The USDA and Congress was looking at doing 100% verification. I can tell you that would take a full-time person all year to do. Verification is really difficult, very time-consuming, and very labor-intensive when it comes to the paperwork. And I think there were people who don't want this. They feel like we're gonna like turn them in, so they never respond to it. So it's really quite sad. You know, we know there's hunger, we know there's need. So I kind of wanted to go over some of the programs that support need in our district. We have free breakfast and lunch for all, which is our community eligibility program. That is brand new. It started last year. I never thought I would see a school that met a community eligibility provision in my entire career here at Scottsdale, and I had to do, we did a crash course, didn't we? Brooke and I were like, we gotta do the training on this because we've never even gone to one. And what this is because it's directly related to those who are directly certified. And when Medicaid became a qualifier, it was a game changer. So we were able to take Coronado, Hohokam, Tonalea, and Yavapai, and they are free breakfast and lunch for all. That's pretty incredible. We do free breakfast for all in Navajo, Pima, and Devon. We do free supper at Coronado, Echo, Hoho, Ingleside, Navajo, Pima, Devon, Tonalea, and Yavapai. So like your homework clubs, your sports things, they all can get a supper for free there. We also, like I said, do summer food service at 26 sites. And then at a district level, I kind of did a break here. At the district level, we do have our community specialists and site administration who are really in tune to looking at what their needs are of their students, so they help us. We have McKinney-Vento identification. Those are for your homeless students. Or those who are deemed homeless, they become automatically free. And then we have weekend backpack meals. It's several of our schools. I can't remember exactly which one. We don't administer that. I think that goes through Vista del Camino, if I'm correct. And then also on a Scottsdale level, you know, we have our local food banks and faith-based organizations. We also have local outreach, such as our Scottsdale Partners, who does that, you know, annual backpack event. If you've never even gone to that, that is amazing. Raul and I had a good conversation there. It's such a great thing to see. And we also know like the foundation, Charos, everybody like that will help wherever they can. Summer food service. So we had 26 sites in total. I think 5 were in-district sites. The rest were all YMCAs and Boys and Girls Clubs around the valley. We did basically 101,000 meals at 25 sites combined, but this is the biggie. We did almost 135,000 meals at SCC alone. So we did 235,000, just over 235,000 meals this summer.
Can you go into the SCC one a little bit?
Yeah, I'm gonna go into it a lot.
Okay, good.
Oh, going the wrong way. Well, it doesn't have a back, there's the backwards, sorry. What do you want me to say any more right now?
If you were gonna, no, I want to
Okay.
go deeper into it. You already said you were going
So USDA started a thing called non-congregate meal service, meaning if you were in a rural community, you could serve weekly meal packs of 7 breakfasts and 7 lunches at a drive-through situation, much like COVID. We heard, you know, there's no rural sites in the valley. Well, if ADE tells you there's nothing there, go check it, because you're gonna find out. I'm not against ADE, but I was like, there's gotta be something, man. And we were looking and we saw everything east of the 101 is tribal land. It's considered rural. So we're like, where could we go? We're like, maybe Butterfly Wonderland. We're like, that's somebody's like parking lot for their business. We don't wanna do them. We're like, SCC. So all it took was one call to Dr. Menzel, who immediately I get a call from Melanie over at SEC, who's like, we've been told by President Lisinski to do whatever it takes. So we went, I have to laugh about our first meal service. It was pretty funny. We get there, SEC campus police is out there, they're helping us. They've got like 5 little cones. We've got our little table. We expect maybe 400 students. We had 1,100. We ran out of food in the first half hour. We were calling our Oak facility going, pack more, because we're sending them that way. So we were able to pick up 900 on that because some had to come back the next day. And then look at what we did every Wednesday after that, how it just kept growing, even when we thought July was gonna be maybe back down to 700 kids, but look at how many meals this equated to. I have to tell you, there were days that it was 116 degrees. And we were standing out there, ice vests, ice buckets, I have learned so much about how to keep cool in the summer. I wish I had one right now, because it is super hot in here. Do you guys feel like it's hot in here, or is it just me? I'm like dying. But it was so hot and so miserable, but so worth it, you guys. I mean, our entire office staff went out every Wednesday and helped. We had a team out there. It was just so great. I'm gonna show you some of the photos. We had a Disneyland line of cars that went back. The first day, they were out past the 101 on Chaparral. So of course, they quickly decided we're gonna change that traffic pattern. The SEC, you could not have asked for a better partner. They were amazing. They set up all that for us. We brought in 2 huge semi-trucks full of food that we handed out. I think this one's funny, Kim's sunglasses. I think they're hilarious. So everybody had a good time. Even though we were sweating to death, I mean, you couldn't even brush your hair afterward, because you know how that sweat just makes your hair just like miserable? But we had a ball. And we will be doing it again next year. They've committed to letting us do it. And we had people driving over an hour to get to us, because we were the only non-congregate rural feeding site in the valley. The closest one to us was Whitman, Arizona. That's pretty impressive. So we've asked, like, how can parents help us? Advocacy. Advocate for program sustainability. Like, when you hear somebody saying we need to cut funding to school meals, say no, they need more. And I'm not saying that because I want money. I'm truly concerned. I have been in this business 25 years. I have never worried about program sustainability till the last 4. There are nights I stay awake thinking, how are we going to keep this program going in 3 more years? Because the funds are not there. They are not coming in quickly. Like, you see a 3% increase for us for a reimbursement rate this year was 2 cents. But in a free category, it was 14 cents. Still not a lot, but you can see for a low free and reduced district like us, we're really struggling. So you can advocate for Arizona to continue that reduced copay. I think it is the right thing to do for kids. Only 3% of our kids qualify for reduced, so the dollar amount is low. I think that those are our kids that sometimes struggle, even 30 and 40 cents to pay. Advocate for maybe healthy meals at no cost. I don't know how you feel about it. I mean, I have mixed feelings. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I think, does every kid need free meals? But here in Scottsdale, we see stigma. There is a stigma for kids who are free out of school, that they may be one of the 2% that are free at that school. So if everybody just, like, we didn't have that with COVID. Everybody ate, everybody enjoyed it. Nobody felt like, I'm the free kid and I have to eat in the cafeteria, but these people are buying out of a vending machine. So that's why, I mean, my heart goes out to our kids, and I think it is the right thing to do. Become educated about school meals and share your knowledge and support school meals publicly. Even if your child doesn't want to participate, still talk highly about school meals and that they're working to do the best thing, and we can only do better if we've got kids participating to be able to keep our programs going. Also, I said to reduce stigma, the more your kids participate, the more it's gonna make everybody wanna participate and not feel that stigma. We do have, I'm not out here like trumping for money or anything saying, hey, let's have some money. But we do have where Sometimes like our graduating seniors a lot might have like $12 on the account, and you can choose to either get a refund, which is fine, or you can choose to have it donated to pay off like negative balances. And we typically will pay off first the student who has a balance that happened before their free and reduced application got approved. So we try and find those that had the greatest needs, not just the ones who just decided to not pay all year. And just support the school meal program again by allowing your kid to participate, even if it's once in a while. We actually have good stuff and it's fun. So actually, okay.
What
Okay.
happens to the funds in high school if the account is never touched again?
So right now, that for we're actually putting a policy in place as we speak about that. Right now, we may have fund balances from kids that were here 20 years ago. We are now going to be setting forth a policy that if after 3 years, and we always send out an email at the end of the year and a text to say, hey, check your balances, we provide refunds. But if after 3 years, we will take that and apply it to other students' accounts or wherever needed. Brooke. Yeah, yes.
Do individual schools have, does the principal have a list of students that maybe need balances to be paid at the end of the year? And is that something that maybe PTOs, if there is additional funds at the end of the year, that could be allocated to help take care of those?
Yes, so our cafeteria managers have that. We can provide that to the principals as well. We just redact names. Yeah, and we absolutely do that.
Is there a way, could you have information, so let's say somebody, my kids don't have an account balance, but I would like to donate to somebody who
Sure.
has an outstanding balance, so how can we do that? Yeah.
We can actually.
And outside of
Brooke?
PTO?
So everybody here can have an account through Link Connect, and there is an account associated with each school. It's called the Feed It Forward account. It's a building account for that school. So if you have a student at Tonalea, there will be a Tonalea account, and you can actually make donations through your online
Correct.
portal to that account. You can
And you don't
also-
have to have your student participating to have an online portal.
Correct. You can register just using your student's ID number. They don't have to ever.
But Brooke, we can get that information out to you, Kim, and that way you can disseminate it to everybody so they have exactly how to do
Yes.
that. Yes, Ralph?
What's the average balance?
For, in our donation fund and then what's owed?
The student's average balance, negative balance.
Average negative balance is, for a student average, I would say our average is $10 or less, but we have kids that are $600 plus.
Do you know the totals of what you have in the black and what you have in the red? Like what's the service
Yes.
that everyone's forgot about? And then
Yep.
what's the ongoing that we would have to pay off?
Right now, we have $25,000 in negative student debt, and we have approximately $380,000 in positive balances for all students. That is including all inactive students and our current students.
And some of that is what they'd be using this school year. So it's hard to pull that. We haven't pulled out for those dormant accounts yet.
Dormant accounts is well over $100,000.
So it could completely clear all that negative debt. So that's what we're working on right now. You just have to have policies in place and we have to get cabinet approval. So we're working on that. All right, so Arizona Healthy School Meals. How many of you have heard the words of the MAHA movement? We've all heard it, right? Make America Healthy Again. Robert Kennedy Jr. Honestly, I call it Arizona Healthy School Meals because I don't want to politicize school meals. But the MAHA movement, we hear a lot of flack. People are so upset about the MAHA movement, but honestly, I think the intent is good. I think that what we need to do, though, is define what is that MAHA movement. It's different no matter who you're talking to. They have a different version of what they believe school meals should look like. So right now there is a whole lot going on behind the scenes with some of our associations trying to figure out what makes a definition of MAHA and what do schools need to move forward on. I think from the parents I've talked to who believe strongly in this Make America Healthy, again, they don't want to see additives, they don't want to see food dyes, they don't want to see processed foods. And I said, well, define a processed food. And they're like, anything that's like already done and not scratch cooked. I'm like, okay, I can tell you, food additives, getting there. Food dyes, gone. Scratch cooking, that's a tough one. And I actually want to invite some of these groups to us, and it's not just moms, it's dads too. But you know, they've been labeled MAHA moms everywhere is what you hear. To our school facilities and look at our infrastructures. I have a school that has one single, not double stack, single oven, no way to boil water and no way to saute or cook anything other than the oven. Now, how do you scratch cook? We have, and then they say, well, just add something. I'm like, well, it's $250,000 to run a new drain line all the way out. So that $25,000 equipment grant I got, because that's the max I could get, might buy one piece of equipment. We have 30 schools, but one piece of equipment, and the infrastructure is gonna cost me more than that piece of equipment to even get through, and the district has to pay for that because we're not allowed. Because it's building, it's increasing the building's value, yeah. Thank you, June, thank you. So those are the things that we struggle with. But can we make changes? Absolutely. Do we want to work with people? I want to sit across the table from anybody and say, how can we make it better? We've proven that with the Nutrition Initiative. What can we do? We're already starting to make our internal changes by doing Blue Zones entrees, by looking at where can we eliminate some processed foods. I can tell you right now, the USDA Foods Program, actually in the state of Arizona, we get an entitlement to purchase chicken, beef, cheese, a whole bunch of different proteins, and we then send it to processors to turn it into food to bring back to us. That way then we're able to use these entitlement dollars that don't cost us anything to keep our food costs low. The problem with that is we can't just bring in raw chicken. We have to run it through a processor in the state of Arizona. So USDA Foods almost pushes us into processed foods. I can tell you, I've been in this business 25 years. It used to be like almost like scrape off the floor processed, like that chopped and formed, glued together stuff. Now you're seeing a lot of whole muscle breaded chickens. You're seeing things that are actually natural fillets. So those are good. We're still, but still with that, you see a little bit more additives than you would if we would have just gotten a raw chicken breast that we could have like made into something ourselves. So we're not there yet, but I think we're moving in that direction as a nation. So those are some of the obstacles. But I think for change, it's like I want to hear from parents and like have those like robust conversations on how do we get there? Not we're going to go from here to here overnight. How do we get there? How do we figure out how we're going to do a cost? I would love to see a central kitchen in this district. I don't think it'll ever happen. The cost is astronomical. It's not something you probably ever see maybe happen, but maybe we can turn our high schools into hub kitchens. I don't know. I mean, we have to look at different ways to make this, because it is a good movement. I'm not opposed to it at all. I mean, I don't love to hear the words attached when they talk about the Make America Healthy, that we are poisoning kids. Why are we targeting just schools? I don't understand why schools are the ones that are responsible, but you can go out and go to McDonald's on your way out the door. I mean, I just feel like we need to make changes in general in our entire society, and I'm all for it, and I want to hear what you all have to say. I really want to hear it because there's strong opinions both ways, and we need to make sure that we listen to our community. So I want you to know that. We do advocate a lot. When we go to Washington, D.C., by the way, that was the cutest purse ever. I loved it, my Kate Spade that I loved. So there we are in D.C. a couple of years ago. Here we are at the state legislature last April. You got to meet. And here I am in DC last year at Greg Stanton's office. It is not lost on me that apparently this is my advocacy outfit. And then we always give like what our positions are, like what our position papers are for the year. We have our national ones and we have our state ones. So we do, as an industry, do advocate for kids, always. I would encourage you all, I'm gonna send this to Kim, I can send this presentation to you. There's a link in here. This Time Magazine article just came out 2 days ago. And it was one of those that has so many ads that I couldn't even print one and bring it to you because it would have been 45 pages long. But this article is really good that explains why some districts seem to be able to do scratch cooking, some don't. What are the drawbacks to making them healthier? It's not that people don't want to, like there are some serious obstacles and how can we make that work? So I would encourage you all to read that. Again, you can just click on the link when you get the presentation. Another little fun picture. So this was yesterday at Yavapai. Our offices are at Yavapai Elementary, so we get to go next door for lunch every day. And this was her fresh fruit and veggie bar. I love the tricolored cauliflower she mixed with the broccoli, and the kids loved it because it was colorful. It wasn't just green broccoli. Like they got to have the color, you know, they wanted the purple. They kept picking out just the purple, and I can see why, I would too. And this was actually a picture from last year, but this is our shredded beef barbacoa nachos. But look at like we have, gosh, I had melon with that, I had an apple, we had jicama, we have tahini that they can like sprinkle on. We have in our high schools, we have the Paul Prudhomme, salt-free, but like all the different seasonings kids can put on things. We had plums. So if a kid says that there's nothing fresh, they're lying. And then I wanted to say, how can parents get involved? You can volunteer to help. I can tell you, school food, we are the absolute worst marketers for ourselves. That's not our like jam. We're not good marketers, so if anybody has marketing experience and they're like, I can make a Canva flyer for you, because it might take me a whole day to come up with something that I'm like, I really could be doing something else. But if there's any way that you have experience on getting what are good ways to get the word out, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to volunteer in your kitchens, we just are in the process of purchasing blender bikes. So that's kind of fun. Like we're gonna be like doing a little road show with all of those to the kitchens. We do all kinds of fun activities there, and we could always use help. We could help plan and prepare special events. I know for the Scottsdale showcase that we had, remember last year they had it at Coronado where all the schools had booths? We're actually gonna be doing a food booth there. And I would love to have some help. You can join the district wellness committee or the school wellness teams, because each school should have its own wellness team as well. Help us with student taste tests. That is so fun. Student taste tests are the best, and they are honest. They don't tell you what you want to hear. It's hilarious. And then also, please share, if we send out a survey, you know, return it. If you have just your own thing you want to share with me, email us, call us. You know, let your cafeteria manager there. We can't fix something if we don't know it's a problem. So we encourage you to let us know. And tell us what's working too and what you do like. This is a little bit of the stuff we have going on in our schools. Like we have National Nutrition Month, and we do have, through our social media, we send out a whole lot of activities for kids. Like with Cinco de Mayo, we did Avocado Smash. We have Tamale Tuesday, and yes, that was our tamales. We have Eat the Rainbow Day, or we actually do a whole week of it. And the schools will do like Red Day, Orange Day, Green Day. Oh, that's a band. And then it happened to be Earth Day that same week. We have a student menu council. That has been a challenge because it's hard to get students after school to want to come to it, but we really want to get their feedback. So I think we're just going to be handling that a little bit differently coming up this year. Follow us and share our stuff, because we put out social media, but it's always like our employees. So it'd be nice to have some other people on there. This is kind of special. So we had Saguaro High School 5 students at Saguaro High School nominated their cafeteria manager to Tyson to be a national hunger hero, and she was one of 5 in the nation that got selected. So she got a $5,000 check for the kitchen, not her. And then look at, they made her, this is Nicole, and they did like a caricature of her, and she got like the big framed thing, and they used this, Tyson's using it in their marketing all year. So that's kind of I mean, that was kind of cool. Never had something like that. Going to encourage you that on May 1st is School Lunch Hero Day. So if you, sometimes the PTOs will decorate cafeterias, do some things. I think that's really fun. I would also encourage you, that's the way you can help volunteer too, to help like decorate cafeterias for different holidays and what have you. I mean, our cafeteria staff love to do that too, but they love to have help. We are Nutrition Services. This is us at our all-employee meeting at the first of the year with our wonderful keynote speaker, Vanessa Hayes. And we just want to do the right thing for kids, but we also want to do the right thing that our community wants us to do. So please reach out to me, reach out to our department for anything you need. We are here, and we love to hear from you. I would, and in fact, come to my office anytime. Come unannounced, it doesn't matter. I'll sit down with you and talk. And then questions. That's some of our team, by the way. This is Miss Martha. Do you guys remember Dr. Barrissey? Am I that old that I'm probably the only one? Okay. That's his daughter, Martha, and that's with her Special Olympics medals that she won. She was so excited. So questions?
I have a question, then I'll move the mic around. Is there an immigration risk associated with filling out the paperwork for free and reduced
Absolutely
lunch?
not.
Okay.
And that's one thing that is, you know what? Can you write that down, Brooke? Because we have to figure out how to wordsmith it if you're putting it out there, but to let parents know that this information absolutely cannot be given out to anyone. It is actually, I can go to jail if it goes out to people and personally. And we are very tight on that. We can give percentages, but we cannot give individual student data that says if a student to anyone, not even ICE if they walked in, I could not give it to them at all.
My question is about confidentiality as well. I've found that a lot of times PTOs want to help the students that are receiving free and reduced lunch at a school. And because that's the best way to identify the children that have need, and whether that's with holiday presents or clothing or whatever. And so my question is, I know that that information is available in nutrition services at the school. I know that obviously the principal, maybe the nurse has access to that information, but what other administrator has access to that information that could then work with the PTOs to keep that information confidential of the identity of the students, obviously to any of the parents or PTOs,
So-
but administration?
So administration should not have that information. The nurse should not have that information. It is only the cafeteria manager and us, and they cannot give it out, and it has to come to us. What a family can do, and I've had schools do this because they've wanted to give out, like at Thanksgiving, like turkeys. So you can say, if you want to provide your free and reduced letter to us, you can. They can choose to. They do it all the time.
Well, we
For
wouldn't-
sports fees, they ask us for a copy of their approval letter because they can never find it in their email. And then they go and they provide it, and that way then they can get that service. We cannot give it out to anybody for any
So
reason.
you're saying that can't be shared? What's that?
Does the community specialist know?
No. Nope.
Oh, okay, so I guess the only people that know that is nutrition services, so.
And it's a federal law that we can't give it out. It's
And
called
I understand why,
yeah.
of course, but I
Yeah.
was just, when you want to help these families and
You
there's no
do.
way.
And I know it's compassionate, there's a reason, but sometimes families don't want you to know.
Well, of course.
And so
yeah.
that's why they need to make sure, that's why that federal law is there to protect a family from, or a student from overt identification. And
Well, it
is-
wouldn't be, like I'm saying, it wouldn't be the parents knowing, it would be someone at the administration
Yeah,
level, like the
they are
principal
not
that would know
allowed.
only, and then, yeah, but I guess if it can't be done, it can't be done.
Yeah.
So then we would just do like a mass call to the community, and I wouldn't even say that you would need their.
Just if you
don't
need
even
help,
need their
yeah, if you
nutrition-
need help,
right.
just let us know.
At that point. you're-
Cherokee used to do that, and they would actually have us mail out information to our free families and say, and we would mail the information to say, if you're interested in this,
So that's
please
a
contact,
possibility,
yes.
is that we
Because
could go
we are
through
doing
you.
it. We are doing it, yes. And we
Okay.
say that nobody at that school knows. And Brooke, did you have something to add?
Oh, great.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah, it's just, we can't give out for obvious reasons. We
So
can't.
you said chair. I actually was wondering if this would be a good roundtable or idea for the future, because I know like Ingleside does something like that, but they do it in partnership with their community specialist. So she's just has the pulse of the school. But if
A lot of kids will tell you.
yeah,
They're like,
but-
"Oh,
but
yeah,
if
I'm
you
free."
guys like if other schools have done that through you to say, hey, will you share this information? That would be good to hear.
Yeah, we can do that for you. Because that way it just protects everybody.
And we can even do something like send out a message to our free and reduced families. If you have a program that you want to target them specifically, we can send a message to them that says, there's a program available. If you would like to participate, contact this person and provide your free and reduced letter.
Because then it's on them. Yeah, yeah. And we can do that school specific as well.
Going back to any fundraisers or snacks must go through nutrition services. So at our school, we've provided testing treats during AASA. So after the students are done testing, they're allowed to have a snack. So is that we're not supposed to be doing
It's
that?
supposed to meet Smart Snacks guidelines. So it does need to have approval for us for the snack, because that's heavily audited by the state. And if they came in, I'm going to tell you what happens. If the state comes in and does an audit and they see snacks being provided or any type of food being provided that doesn't meet those requirements, the federal reimbursements for the school nutrition department get withheld.
Okay. and
So
then-
we're the person, unfortunately, that has to police that. You know, they've asked a lot for, do you have ideas of things? It's tough because formulations change on things. We've done a list of things only for it to be completely not even right anymore 3 months later, but I can absolutely help you on that. And a lot of times, if you just take a picture, and I can send this when I send the email to you, because I would love to come out. I do trainings all the time on this, but to come out and say, you take a photo of the ingredient label, and then also the nutritional fact label, I can pretty much tell you if it's going to meet or not. I can just look at it. I don't even have to run it through a calculator. We've done it so many times. We're like, okay, it's 9 calories for each gram of fat, and so it's under that 35% fat,
So is there a form that we fill out or?
There is not,
or
but
what's the process?
no, you just send me an email.
Okay.
Simple.
And then I just had another question. You had said something about free suppers at different schools. And one of the schools my children attend, well, we're split now, and one I work at, and I had no knowledge of this. So are these schools actually implementing free supper for
Yeah.
kids?
So it's
what
typically
does that
like a
look like?
homework club or some kind of club that they have. Sometimes it might even just be some after-school activity that they've got going on, and they do. What school are you at?
Echo.
I know the after-school clubs at 2:30, but that's through 21st Century Grant.
Yeah, so
that's
21st
something
Century,
different.
that's who we're
Oh,
serving.
that's who it is?
Kids Club, we
Oh.
do not, because Kids Club is a fee-based. We actually get snacks, but Kids Club, it's like a catering. They pay us for the snack. We pay them at like pretty much cost, but yeah, it's through 21st Century.
Okay, we have time for about one or two more.
Sorry.
Well, one way to be compliant is to go through nutrition services for the food. Do you still provide catering?
We do.
Okay. So
We
how
do
we
provide
find that
catering.
information?
So we're working on a catering menu. We just finally got a caterer after years of not having one and getting all of our pricing and all of that done. But you can just email me, and I can kind of get you something from them until we get this set up. We did have a program through our point-of-sale software that was like $700 and something a year to have it, and they just increased the price to like $3,700 a year, so we dropped it. We're making our own. So you just let us know.
Any more questions?
Thank you, you guys. I really appreciate the opportunity to come here every year. I always get to see great faces, and this year there's a lot of new ones. I love that, because for a while it was the same people all the time, so that just shows that there's new blood out there. I really appreciate you all and everything you do for our kids, because if it weren't for our PTOs and PTAs, there's no way we would be able to do what we do in Scottsdale, as a globally within our district. So thank you.
Well, thank you. This is, as always, it is a really amazing presentation. Okay, I have a few more things to talk to you about. actually going to skip this. I'll do it. No, I'm good. I'll do this next meeting. Okay, no, you're good. You're good. That section's boring anyway. So, okay, I want to let you know what's coming up, some important things. So this is not next week, but the week after. So Wednesday, September 10th, the district is offering a mental health resource fair. This will be, I haven't seen it show up on social media yet, but we'll put that on social media because doing that QR code will give you more information. And that's happening here on September 10th in the evening. Okay. Our next SPC general meeting is here. It's a morning meeting on Wednesday, September 17th. It'll be Title I funding. We'll also talk about community specialists. We'll hear from Dr. Perniski, who's the director of those programs. And then immediately following that meeting, I'll be here for a long time that morning. If you are a parent volunteer with your school PTO, PTA, APT, whatever letter combination you have, you might want to attend this because the district is rolling out some new guidelines for booster clubs. Booster is a little bit of a misnomer. It's not just for sports or robotics, whatever. PTOs and PTAs fall under these guidelines. And Dr. Sakos and Nick Buzon will answer your questions. I've been getting a lot of panicked emails from parent organization presidents, sometimes with their principals as well. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Anyway, the guidelines are up on the website. Maybe don't read them until this roundtable. They're not that long, and then they can talk you through it, and we'll go from there. Okay. Also, this is something SPC is doing this year that's new. I'm a nerd, and I'm really excited about it. But on November 13th, Dr. Menzel and maybe some other guests, I'm working on who else will come. We're going to meet in Room D, and we're going to discuss this book, The Disengaged Teen by Jenny Anderson and Rebecca Winthrop. So Dr. Menzel read it this summer, thought it would be great to recommend to parents. So I'm recommending it to you, but then if you also want to talk about it, that we're going to have this time set aside. Saguaro adopted this book, and their faculty read it over the summer, and they've kind of been using it to get excited and for strategies for this year. Okay, I will go over the budget. So this is our budget for the school year, for the upcoming school year. If you look at the bottom, you can see it's just over, it's $2,100 for the whole school year. We only have operating expenses. Nobody makes any money. We're all volunteers. And our operating expenses are not very exciting. They're like post office box, liability insurance, which let's just make this reservation, accounting software, website hosting, which actually only renews every 3 years, so we won't have that for the next couple of years, and email subscription. We do rely, we're a 501c3, totally rely on donations. You'll hear more about that from me later in the year. Repeatedly, but yeah, so we rely on donations from schools if they feel so inclined, from individuals, and so on. Okay, so that's it. I want to let everybody head out. Oh, Dave, one more question.
You're asking $100 per school? Is that
So
the request?
schools can give whatever they want. Historically, it has been $100, and usually historically as well, it comes from like a PTO, PTA. But again, it's all voluntary. It is a donation. Yeah. Okay, next month I'll do a little bit more on the background of like what SPC is in case people don't know. And then you'll also, if you guys are on your parent organizations at your school, we'll be getting emails to asking you and your principals to designate reps to attend these meetings. But everyone is welcome to attend, whether or not you're a rep. If you're here and you're not a rep, talk to me because it's really awesome and you should be one. But anyway, thank you so much. We'll see you in September. If you have any questions, email me. Yep. Oh, yeah, the typo on the website, it's 9 o'clock. I'll fix that tonight.